Welcome to Valley News Now. I'm Adam Shelf, and today I am joined by CEO of Serenity Wellness, Maria Brown. Maria, thank you so much for joining me in studio, and quite the travel for you, coming up all the way from New York to the digital desk. So welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here, and I love travel. I love the journey, the exploration, and yeah, it's been interesting. Heat waves and flash flooding and you
it sounds
it.
like got
so
a little
far,
dicey
just a
on
few
the
days.
on the commute up through Minnesota yesterday, huh?
Yeah, it was. I had to pull off to the side of the road with probably another dozen people and just waited out. But sunshine today, beautiful weather, and I'm so thrilled to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, happy to have you. And, that just naturally glides us right into some of what we're talking about today. So right now you are traveling in your van, and it's a very cool van. It's not your typical van. Traveling in your van all the way from New York. You've made a handful of stops along the way, and eventually you're going to be getting all the way out to Washington State, some pop-up events along the way, and working on educating people and having different events regarding breath work and painting, integrating those two together. So I'm sure you can explain better than me.
Yeah, so this journey for me, well, this is my fourth time traveling cross country, third time by myself. And nature's canvas is what is bringing me across the country. My happy place is in nature, and I love to explore. And I get to share breath work, somatic breath work, that will it just enhances overall wellness. If you have a daily practice of breath work, and there's a correct way to breathe and an incorrect way to breathe. But the breath work combined with a painting, which is a type of meditation when you have no attachment to the outcome. So the breath work relaxes you, you just kind of get inspired and paint, and my inspiration is nature. So I go live with a course, a 4-week course that I'll be doing, and then also these pop-up events where I get to invite people in and just join me and have a painting and breathwork and nature party.
That sounds like a party I would like to attend. That party will be at 4E Winery tonight as far as the Fargo edition. Well, not technically Fargo, but as far as this region's little stop for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I think you have a very interesting background and your journey to getting into some of the work you're doing now with breath work and wellness. And so for a long time, you were involved in more environmental science as well.
Yeah, I was definitely the kid that came home with a frog in one hand and a snake in the other, and my mother just said, nope, they're not allowed in the house, and get ready for dinner. Yeah, I love the environment, and I love teaching and getting younger people really involved in caring for the environment. So I studied, as an undergrad, I studied biology and ecology and evolution and geology, and then went on and did a master's in environmental science. I worked for engineering firms, and I became a restoration ecologist, but specifically for wetlands. And what I would do is create stormwater treatment wetlands, so that the stormwater would go into those wetlands, the plants would filter out the pollutants, and especially in the New York City area, in those 5 boroughs, there's a lot of heavy metals that go in. So we would target specific plants that are targeted for specific heavy metals. And then at the end, you can harvest those plants, recover the metals, and it is a much more natural way to enhance the environment by also providing enhanced habitat for wildlife. So yeah, that was a wonderful career.
It sounds like a win-win. You're able to recycle
Yeah.
some of those metals, and you're also able to get rid of some of those pollutants.
Yeah.
So that's very cool experience there. Now, it's very different than what you're doing now. And so, how did you get from there to here?
Well, let's see. I had twins along the way, and when I left the engineering company, it's because my twins were getting ready to start kindergarten. And my head literally popped up off the pillow one day, and I said, I think I'm gonna invite kids to really love science and become a teacher. Okay. So I became a teacher, and I was the science research teacher at Sayville High School on Long Island, New York, for 22 years. And from the work that I did in the engineering firm, I was a geospatial analyst, and I taught GIS, Geographic Information Systems, which is just the mapping and the statistics like everyone saw during COVID. But I did that for ecology students and atmospheric students at Stony Brook University for 12 years. And I was fun because I loved teaching, I loved getting kids inspired, and it was just a lot of fun. And then, the pandemic happened, 2020, changed everything. And my son at the time was 26, and he was really struggling and had a really, really difficult time and self-harmed himself. And after that whole event, I had suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And it happened in the summertime. I wasn't teaching. And when it came back to going back into the school year, it just hit me like a rock, and I wasn't ready to go back. I needed to just take care of me. I needed to take pause. I needed to just find some peace in a pause because it was really a difficult time. And the school district gave me a year's leave, and what did I do? I got on a plane. There was about 6 people on a plane during COVID. And I went out to where my brother is in Oregon. He's in the Cascade Head Bioreserve. And I hiked for 2 months. I just went into nature and hiked, trying to get the anxiety down. And I was better. When I left Oregon, I decided to drive back to New York. That was the first time I was traveling cross-country by myself. And along the way, a friend of mine who co-facilitates retreats with me now, she took me to Sedona. She said, I'm going to take you to Sedona. I want you to do a sound healing bath, and I want you to do some breath work. And I said, okay, I'm open to anything. And it was such a profound change for me. I had been going to therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. For the anxiety, of course, all the doctors, they just want to put you on drugs, and I didn't want any drugs. So nature was my medicine, right? And so, but this breath work shifted the energy. And I didn't really understand it in the moment, but it shifted everything for me. And it's not like, oh, I'm healed. It wasn't anything like that. But I went back to Long Island and said, I need more of that. Whatever just happened, I need more of that. And I was Googling, and of course, I can't find breath work anywhere. And I had lived all the way out on the east end of Long Island, so really far from the city, and the only breath workers there were in the city. And I was like, I'm not going to New York City, that's too stressful. So as algorithms will have it, on Facebook, Soma Breathwork found me.
How about it?
And I said, I was watching, and they had you could sign up for a free trial for 10 days. And I said, let me try this. And I started to really fall in love with it. It was not the type of breathwork that I did up in Sedona. When I was in Sedona, that was holotropic. It was hyperventilation. It was very, very different. It was forcing that energy to move, forcing the release of those emotions. And Soma breath is the complete opposite. It just allows you to find your center, to calm your whole nervous system down. And I fell in love with it. So I called, I did one of these discovery calls, and I said, I don't want to just be a participant. I actually want to learn how to facilitate. So within a month, I had my initial certification. And that meant that I could start practicing just one level of breath work. And immediately I started working with people. Moved on, I got the second certification. Moved on, got the advanced certification, which took 3 years to get the advanced certification. But, it changed my life so profoundly. And I see that everybody that I work with it shifts. It just really helps them shift, and for the good. And when you practice it every day, like wake up and I have a smile on my face, and even when I feel a little bit low, I just do some breath work. It really changes everything. So that's how I got to where I am now. But in that year that I took that leave, I decided, I woke up one day again and said, I think I'm done with this journey of teaching at the high school and at the university. It's been beautiful. It was the most magnificent career anybody could ever want. And I just felt like there was something ahead. Wasn't sure what it was, and just followed my instincts and my intuition, and here I am in North Dakota doing breath work and painting. And the painting came about at a Koya retreat that I went to. Again, my friend Stephanie, she's a Koya master, and she runs these retreats. Koya originated in the Andes, and it's just movement. It's feminine movement. It's for women. And you release energy through movement. But she's a painter. She's a really exquisite painter. And we'd have these giant canvases outside, and the birds are singing. And I was like, I'm hooked. I'm just so hooked. I was like, how could just playing with color and texture, how could this not be fun, right? And yeah, and I was not a trained artist. I'm not, well, now maybe I am more of a trained artist. But once I started painting, I haven't stopped. So here I am now. We're doing breathe and paint, and it works perfectly together because the breath work really relaxes you, and the canvas becomes like a metaphor for life, and you get to transfer that energy onto the canvas with no attachment to the outcome, and you just get to be like when you were 5. You know, you just get to play again. Doesn't matter what happens on that canvas; it's always a canvas. You spray paint it white again if you don't like what it looks like. You just spray paint it white and start all over again.
One thing that stood out to me is the no attachment to the outcome. I feel like in today's society we're very much outcome driven, result driven, instant gratification. If you could elaborate a little bit more about the principle itself of not being attached to the outcome and how that is perhaps important in the process.
So it's so important because being attached to an outcome brings up emotion, it brings up fear, it brings up the limiting beliefs, that voice in your head going, oh, you don't know how to paint? Like, what are you doing? You know, like those little voices that go off in your head, right? And when there's no attachment to the outcome, you're free. There's this freedom to just explore, to just play, right? So when we were 5, it was like, I didn't think about, you know, what the final picture was going to look like. You know, I was just like, there's pink and purple and yellow. This is great, you know. And that's what it's all about, like freeing ourselves of those constraints. And, you know, I know when I worked in the engineering firm, there was an outcome that had to be produced. But if I could play and imagine along the way, and it was very creative, if you tap into your creative process and you're free of that attachment, that's when the magic happens. That's when you get clarity. That's when all the really great ideas come about, and you don't even think about it. It's just happening. And if you honor that process, you'll be amazed at what happens. So freedom. Yeah, freedom from limiting beliefs and fear. And the breath work helps move through that.
Let's talk a little bit more about the breath work specifically. You know, I feel like it's one of those things where people are going to have to go to the event tonight to get the full experience. You can't just, you know, teach it on a digital desk, especially something that required so much learning for you. But what kind of breath work are you going to go into this evening?
So this evening, we'll do a 3-part breath work. And so the first part is rhythmic breathing. And most people, not all people, but most people don't breathe correctly. So if you're breathing in through your nose and your belly rises first, that's a healthy breath. And then you breathe out through the mouth or out through the nose. So if you put your hand on your belly, and just check. But if your heart space,
We're gonna have to get a little
okay.
interactive here. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna put one hand on your heart
Okay.
space and one hand on your belly.
Okay.
And close your eyes. And now take a breath in through your nose and see which raises first, the belly or the heart space.
I got belly.
Okay, that's good. That's what you want. You want belly. So now just release that either through your nose, exhale through your nose, or through your mouth.
Okay.
Okay. So as long as your heart space doesn't rise first and you're breathing in through your nose, that's a healthy breath, and you want to be conscious of that all day long. Here's the reason why. When we are mouth breathers, when we breathe through our mouths, what's happening? It's almost like
It makes you nervous.
makes you really nervous.
Yeah.
Like I just felt my whole body change. And when you're hyperventilating, right, that's a built-in response, a survival response for the human condition, right? When something scares us or frightens us, it's fight or flight, right? I'm either going to fight or I'm going to run. And that makes you feel anxious all the time. So if you're breathing incorrectly, you're literally making yourself anxious all day long. Or it can increase depression. It can increase your heart rate. It increases your blood pressure. So all of these vital signs in our body change because of the way we breathe. When we breathe rhythmically and we breathe with like Soma breath, where you are breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, you're shifting from that fight or flight to rest and digest. So your nervous system changes immediately. And I will show you at the end some quick tips, not the full thing that we'll do tonight. But so we start with this rhythmic breathing. That's the first part. And there's the reason why. The second part is we go into breath retentions. So after you bring in all of this oxygen, right, we're breathing, and it's like a wave. It's almost like a wave. There's no pause at the top of the breath, and there's no pause at the bottom of the breath. So you're just breathing like that. Then we do these breath retentions. And the first one is take a deep breath in, and then exhale completely. Now, if you exhale with a tone, the tone actually stimulates your pineal gland, which activates the area for your happy hormones to be released.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so if you hum, or you tone, or you
Okay.
or you amen, whatever it is,
Sure.
if you do that, that is actually activating the pineal gland, and oxytocin gets released and serotonin gets released. So it's hard not to smile when you're doing this, right? Because you're releasing, your physiology is changing. So you release that with a tone and you hold your breath. And I will have you holding your breath for 4 minutes, but not consistently. You get to take a refresher breath. But the longer you hold your breath, it kind of puts you into this state of meditation. And your brain is going to say, you're suffocating, but you're not suffocating. And if you just override that kind of fear, you go into like this really, really peaceful state. And while we're doing those breath holds, we just brought a lot of oxygen into the body by the rhythmic breathing. And so that oxygen is being held in our red blood cells by hemoglobin.
Okay.
When we hold our breath, we elevate carbon dioxide and nitric oxide in our body. So as soon as we take a breath, that carbon dioxide goes over to the hemoglobin and breaks the bond and releases all that fresh oxygen into our bodies. So we're recycling oxygen in our body and rejuvenating. You feel really, really good after doing the breath hold retentions. And nitric oxide is along for the ride. We elevate that, and that's a organically produced antioxidant, and there's all kinds of health benefits for that. Then we do one last one where after we've been holding for about 4 minutes, we take a breath in, squeeze your pelvic floor, which is as if you're trying to hold in urine, and you squeeze that. That just gives an energy lock, and it pushes that energy up, and we kind of like look to our midbrain and kind of push it out there. We see like this energy current moving out of our body, and that's the movement of energy in your body. And what that does is it just allows you to kind of release. And then you just, with a big sigh. So it's this 3-part breath work, the rhythmic breathing, the 2 breath holds, and we do 2 rounds of it, and that it just rejuvenates your whole body. And you feel really, really good. You feel really relaxed afterwards. And it's so healthy. It changes the physiology of your body. It even changes your blood alkalinity. So yeah, it lowers your blood pressure. It lowers your heart rate. It changes the heart coherence, right? So heart coherence is the connection between like body and heart and your mind, and it just puts everything into balance. So when we're in balance, we're just, yeah, we feel good.
Balance is great.
Balance is great.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is hitting the nail on the head or oversimplifying or somewhere in between, but it seems like you're training your body through this to do different practices of self-medicating almost.
Yeah, so you can actually, we call it tapping into the pharmacy within, because your body, everything you really need is in your body. You just need to know how to get it to work so that you're functioning optimally every single day. And before we even start the breath work, there's always a meditation that with visualization. So meditation and visualization really helps assist and helps to retrain the brain and the body together. So, you know, when I say with Serenity Wellness, it's we're creating a wellness of our body, mind, and spirit, or for our body, mind, and spirit. Because in the end, I feel great. I'm functioning at real high energy, and that rubs off on people, right? I could talk about breath work like this. So we're going to do some rhythmic breathing, and we're going to just do a couple of whole breath holds, and that's not exciting. That's low energy.
Right.
But like you feel really good afterwards, and that rubs off on people, right? I mean, yeah. Are you excited for breath work?
I am. I'm getting more excited. Now, let me ask you this then, you know, because it seems like it's been super beneficial for you, and it seems like it's been beneficial for other people. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from the different people you've worked with?
So really interesting. I just had one of these 4-week series that was called Mapping Your Soul. And it was intense, you know. But one woman, she's like, I don't know, I've just been struggling for years. I know that I'm blocked. I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with anxiety. And within 4 weeks of breathing and painting, because we keep in touch as a group through WhatsApp, and they're encouraged to paint something every single day, even if it's just something small. They're encouraged to do different breathwork exercises every day. And she said in 4 weeks, everything shifted for her. She's motivated. I was on my way out here yesterday, and she texted me and she said, okay, I'm in Florida and I'm boogie boarding. I have never done this before, and I feel great, and thank you so much. So that was really amazing. Some of the women, like when I had them in the Amazon rainforest last February, it totally changed their lives. I had one woman, Talia, she's the most beautiful soul, and she had gone through a divorce and had these 2 magnificent boys of hers, and she was just always kind of down, not smiling. She's like, I just don't have the energy. I just don't feel good every day. Changed her in 10 days. She was totally immersed in nature. She was connected. Like, I truly believe that if we are more connected to nature, we become more truly connected to ourselves.
Sure.
And because you're in this blissful environment and you just get to be with you. And there's something very magical that happens in nature. And so now she's literally on a trip. She's heading to Montana with her boys, and they're going to Yellowstone, and she's taken them for 3 weeks. She has done nothing but camping, kayaking, hiking since she's gotten back from the Amazon. She's like, I can't get enough of it. She's like, and I feel good every day. She's doing breath work. Some people who have had trouble sleeping a full night, there's a simple breath work I'll show you. If you just breathe in through the nose for a count of 4, and then breathe out very slowly through the mouth as if you're blowing through a straw for a count of 8. So we're going to go in, 2, 3, 4, out through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you do that at night when you're laying down, you're just going to fall asleep.
I wish I would have known about that last night.
You're just going to fall asleep. Like, there's no way that you can't fall asleep. And the one thing that's really amazing about the counting is that whatever thoughts you have in your head, you can't think about them because you're focused on counting.
Sure.
So you're totally distracting whatever those thoughts are. If you're worried or you're already listing for the things you have to do the next day or whatever it is, it's out of your head. And
Yeah.
you can totally go to sleep.
And I think that's one of the things, and I've read different books about it, but basically, if the mind is a vehicle, we have a hard time turning it off. It's like sometimes the car drives us.
Yeah.
And so being able to use the vehicle instead of having the vehicle use you.
Yeah. I love that you said that too, because like I always think of like my brain is this vehicle that's just, it's nonstop. I can't hit the brake pedal. But when I go into, when I just close my eyes and I feel into my body and kind of go back into a place of gratitude in my heart and what I'm grateful for, it just changes everything. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, right? It shifts. It changes everything. It turns the page. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. And you have a little example here. Why don't you show us this example?
So this is a mandala. You see that okay?
Yeah, we're going to this camera far over there.
Okay. And so there is a little
If you
heart
wanna
in the
keep
center.
holding that up, and I am going to get a little zoom in here.
Okay. I'm just going to hold that up. So, well, let's see. Which
There
way?
we go.
This way. Here we
Perfect.
go. Okay.
Okay.
And right down is, there we go. So tonight we will focus on our heart center and our connection to nature. And you can see there's a heart in the center and then there's a flower. And I just looked around and you can see there's even like little leaves, like where my finger is over here. But these are all created with just a paintbrush and then dot mandala tools. So the dots are made with these mandala tools that you dip into the paint and you can do it. And the reason I love this, one, I can travel. This is just roll canvas, so I can cut it. But the reason I love this one is, we focus on our heart center, we focus on love and gratitude, and just like a mandala, right? The center of a mandala blooms outward. And like we bloom, as we grow, we bloom, and we can be the best version of ourselves when we get rid of all those limiting beliefs, when we get rid of the fear, when we trust in ourselves and trust that, we are loved, we are supported, we are one. Like you said before, we are all one with the universe, we're all energy. And yeah, it's just a beautiful message. And every time you look at the mandala, you remember the moment, you remember the meditation, you remember the breath work, you remember what you were thinking and that energy and how you were feeling. It really brings you back. And it's not like a big canvas that you have to, like you can take this with you anywhere. So yeah, this was fun, but all inspired by nature. And I love being in the prairie because I was walking through the prairie this morning by the winery. They had restored that prairie. They had it burned repeatedly, and they let it restore to natural grasslands. And the grasses are in flower, and there's some flowers there, and just the trees. So all the shapes that are in nature can come through in a mandala with just a paintbrush, some paints, and some of the dot tools. So
well, when I look
really
at that, that doesn't look like something that would be not considering the outcome, just with the way it came together. So what's that process like when you're not considering the outcome, but it still seems like there's a lot of, there's symmetry and there's seems like a lot of inherent structure. So how do you create
that
something
balance, right?
without considering the outcome like
So
that.
this is perfectly imperfect, just like we are, perfectly imperfect. And so when you look at it from here, it's like, wow, it looks like there's so much symmetry. And when you look at it really close, you'll see, oh, it's not perfect. But you start from the center and you just work your way out.
Okay.
And so tonight there'll actually be there'll be a few guiding lines, and there'll be like a small circle, then another circle here, and then the bigger outer circle. So there'll be 3 circles there as guides for you. And it's literally just like, oh, I'm going to take the pencil and I'm going to go like this, or I'm going to take the paintbrush and I'm going to make this little star. But I just started with a heart in the center, and then I just started drawing like petals to a flower. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm going to fill that in with black so that the yellow pops.
Oh,
and,
sure, okay.
You know, it's just like whatever happens, but you work from the center outward. And then, like where I have other colors on top of colors, like you have to really wait for it to dry. But yeah, and you can just take the tools and do little doodads, but it just comes. You don't have to even think about it. It just, if you just let it go, let that attachment go, you're doodling. And doodling is really healthy, right? As a teacher, like when my students were doodling, I was like, you know, I thought that was great because they were listening. When they're doodling, and you're listening to yourself, or you're listening to another person, and you're absorbing everything. And I remember students going, oh, I always get in trouble for doodling, and I always wanted to see what the doodles were because I knew they were processing what I was saying.
Interesting.
Even though it looked like, yeah, so if you're a teacher out there, don't reprimand your students for doodling. Doodling is good.
Doodling is good, folks.
Doodling is good.
Doodling is good. You heard it. Maybe you haven't heard it here first, but you just heard it now.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting stuff. So it's at 4E Winery. Things are getting started at 6:30. I know a handful of people, and it's tricky because it's a pop-up event.
Yeah.
You know, I reached out to you, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago when I discovered some of your travels, and then this thing pops up. And so people are still kind of filtering in, but people who may be watching this or seeing this on the newscast, where can they get involved and how can they get involved?
So it's on Eventbrite, so you can find it on Eventbrite, or you can just call over to 4E Winery and let us know you're coming. I think we have 10 or 12 coming so far.
Okay.
But there's room for so the outdoor pavilion is set up. There's plenty of tables. There's plenty of chairs. I mean, there's room for like 30 people. And there's plenty of canvas and plenty of materials. So come on down and join us for Breathe and Paint, and just explore.
And it's a $5. It's not an entry fee. It's really just
a
to
donation to cover the cost.
Cover the cost
of the materials. Yeah, it's just a $5 donation, and I'm sure the winery would love if you bought some wine. And the wine is good. Oh my gosh, we did a tasting last night. And
okay.
It was delicious. I like red wine. It was
sure.
all red wine tasting. I was like, oh, right up my alley. I had no idea.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
But really good stuff.
Sounds like a great Wednesday night. Let's be honest.
I know, right?
Middle
It's
of the
hump
week.
day. Let's just get over the hump.
Exactly. What a great way to get over the hump on a week like this, to kind of be able to go full immersion into some investing back into yourself and investing into some relaxation and accessing the pharmacy in the body that, like you mentioned.
The pharmacy within, yeah. So treat yourself. I love that you said that, like just investing in yourself. Every time you spend time just investing in yourself or treating yourself, it rubs off on everybody around you. And yeah, you just radiate everything that you have about you out there. Love, gratitude, and you get to meet new people and learn something new. So yeah, I'm excited.
And before I let you go, I know earlier in the interview you mentioned that there were some things, I don't know if that was what we already went through, but if there were some more exercises or anything else that you wanted to touch on before we wrapped up here.
So a couple of quick tips. One, first, if you just go to my website and you join my tribe, every Monday I have breath notes. It's like my version of Love Notes, but it's a short video of me teaching you a new breath technique.
Okay.
With whatever it is. If it's heart coherence.
I'll pull that up right on the screen here if you want to tell me exactly what the website will be right under your name on the lower third. So what is the website?
HTTPS. right? All that.
Okay.
And then colon / and then it's Serenity Wellness and Coaching.com.
Okay. I'm going to shorten that up a little bit. So, serenitywellnessandcoaching.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there it is, folks. I'm bring that back on the screen. So there it is, serenitywellnessandcoaching.com.
Cool. And then some quick techniques. If you're feeling anxious, if you always extend your exhale twice as long as your inhale.
Okay.
So we did the 4-8 for sleep, but if you do 2 inhale for 2 through the nose, exhale for 4 through the mouth, that will shift you into rest and digest mode in just 5 minutes.
My sister, who does physical therapy and a variety of other things out west, she calls those rescue breaths. She's told me about the 2-4 breaths, and so she calls that rescue breaths.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to hear that again from someone else now.
Right. So it is. It's rest and digest. You'll feel it in 5 minutes. You'll feel the shift immediately. And if you're having one of those like extraordinary anxious days, if you do it for 10 minutes and then keep doing it throughout the day, you'll feel so much better. Once you actually calm your nervous system, so what you're doing is you're going from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system, so fight or flight to rest and digest. Once you've done that shift, then you want to get into what's called like a flow state.
Okay.
And to get into the flow state, that's where you've got clarity, some creativity. You can do what is called box breathing. So box breathing is just picture a box. And so we'll inhale for a count of 4. Then you hold your breath for a count of 4. Then you exhale through the mouth for a count of 4. You hold your breath for a count of 4.
Okay, so it's like a
box.
4 equal sides.
4 equal sides. So it's 4, 4, 4. But the inhale is always through the nose. Exhale is always through the mouth. And you do it at your own pace. And that, if you do that for 5 minutes, it'll just bring you into like a flow state.
Okay, so similar to meditation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And there's a few more that you can do. One I love is breathing in heartbeats.
Ooh, okay.
So if you get your pulse, right, and you find your pulse, and this is really cool because you're going to see a difference on your heart, on your pulse, on your inhale and your exhale. You're going to see very different things. So what we're going to do is once you find it, you're going to breathe in for a count of 6 pulses through the nose.
Okay.
And then you're going to breathe out slowly for a count of 6 pulses through the mouth.
Okay.
And then pay attention to your pulse when you're doing that, though, okay?
Okay.
So we'll just start in 2, 3, 4, or actually I shouldn't be counting. And then when you exhale, because my pulse is different than yours.
Seems like it slows it down.
It does.
Interesting.
Right? So that's heart rate variability. And when we're in balance, you should have a nice increase on the inhale, and exhale, it should slow down. And also, if you pay attention to the temperature, so when you breathe in and you breathe out, right? You've got cool air coming in, warm air going out.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're regulating. You're
Yeah.
actually regulating your whole nervous system and your body. So yeah, breathing in heartbeats is really fun. If you are a mom and or a dad and you have an infant, when they get really upset, they tune in to what you're feeling. And most new parents are really anxious. Trust me, I had twins. I'd hear them go, and I'd be like, one would get the other one scream. I'd be like, oh my gosh, right? So I was like in panic mode. But as soon as I calm down, so you can breathe, do the in for 2, out for 4. And once you're calm, you hold your child close to your heart, because now your heart rate has slowed down,
calm them down.
and your blood pressure has calmed down. So once you're calm, they will be calm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that
So-
work with cats?
I don't know. My cat always falls asleep purring on me when
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
'Cause
good to
you know,
know,
my
good to know.
cat brings me so much joy. So like I'm like so relaxed when my cat comes and like lays on me. I think we just both fall asleep together, which is kind of fun. Yeah. So those are a couple that you can use anytime, and there's just so many that you can do. Another one that's great for like if you have gas or you're having digestive issues. So you kind of you breathe out through the nose hard and you pull your stomach in at the same time. So it's a and you'll breathe back in through the nose naturally. You don't have to force it, but it moves everything around. So if you're having trouble with digestion or you have indigestion or you feel gassy or anything, it'll move it around and move it quickly. So that's a really good one just for digestion.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing so many of these different techniques, and then more tonight at 4E Winery. That starts at 6:30, goes to 8:30, and then all the information is also available on Eventbrite as well, including an itinerary, really just kind of moving through the different phases of the night. Should be a pretty relaxing, good Wednesday.
It'll be great. And if you follow me on Facebook, it's there. All the Eventbrite and everything is up there. So I'll be posting all day.
Okay, and is that
for
just at
information.
Maria Brown, or I'll adjust the lower
That's
third?
Serenity. Yeah, you could do
so
Serenity
it's all the
Wellness.
Serenity
Yeah,
Wellness. That's
Serenity Wellness.
the catch-all.
Serenity Wellness and Coaching. That's the catch-all.
Okay, awesome. Maria, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you so
me
much.
in the
I'm
studio
so
here.
grateful to be here, and I look forward to breathing and painting with you later.
It's
going
going to be a good time. Thank you so much. And that is all we have for now on Valley News Now. So thank you for joining us. Maybe we'll see you tonight.